on.
Okay, Jock said we can go ahead now, so we can go ahead. People are wondering what this is for. This is a charcuterie board that was left at Cheryl Gus at the Christmas party. So if anybody would like to come get their short, huh?
A year ago.
A year ago.
A year ago.
If anybody doesn't claim it, it's hers. Judy Tarver has STEM night at Oakmont Elementary, Crowley ISD. They need people to speak. And so if anybody's interested in that. We have 127 people, and some other people showed up that did not RSVP. No problem. The whole thing is good as many people here. RSVP so they can plan on the food, but I know people have weird schedules, everything else, but the weather is so pretty today. We have 18 spouses here, which I think is fantastic. How many active pilots do we have here? Wow. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's the future. The very wealthy future. Last year, we signed up 44 new Gray Eagles in the southern area. I think we'll sign up more than that this year. One thing I want to do is just address some people. Tony Kennard is not here, but she's with the APA. You'd be amazed at the support we get from APA. She does the retirement dinners. Last year, May the 6th, we had 19 Gray Eagles retire. November 11th, we had 29. She said they're going to have another retirement dinner next November. I think that's what they're planning on, but definitely word will go out for that. Jock Bethune, we always have to acknowledge Jock. He is a Gray Eagle news coordinator. Alan Brock is he's over here at the children's table. He was over here. One day we'll move up into the adult table. But anyway, and why this is so big, I'll tell you what, Bob Hope, we have Diet here, and it's fantastic. We've got her here. You can see we provided flowers at the funeral, and that's what we're donating for over there. And everything that's extra will be given to Stephen Fryer for his organization that's supporting 2 widows right now. And, Eric Guth, who else am I thinking of? Alan? Or Bob? Who? No, I'm thinking of the prior area directors that have just kept this going. Eric Guth, Alan Brock, Bob. Huh? Bruce Odd. Bruce Odd. I mean,
Jack Henson.
and one day don't be mentioning my name like that. Yeah, Charlie Savage for a while. But that's the whole thing, just to keep this going. This is where we can get together and, see everybody, old friends. Then Steve Catalano's here. Where's Steve? Yeah, he's the Gray Eagle president. What it means when you're president, that means you're responsible for the next convention. And the next convention is going to be here in Grapevine, and he'll speak about this at the end. Gray Clark. Where's Gray Clark? He might not have made it. He might be coming later, but he's a project wingman. Once again, we've got phenomenal people here from APA, also from the company. Jay Cooley is our Gray Eagle golf coordinator, plus he's going to be helping Steve Catalano for the next convention. Steve Fryer is the Secretary-Treasurer of the Gray Eagle Foundation, which is supporting 2 people right now, 2 widows in their 90s. And then we've got Dee and Don Gates. They are helping me and Beverly, my wife. And then we've got Ashok. Ashok's here. Where's Ashok? I put Ashok in the category of someone who loves American Airlines. Okay? And then we've got Cheryl Guth is the Gray Eagle Auxiliary Member Coordinator. Jack Henson is a past president. Bill Rose is a past president. Ruthie Henson got a Gray Eagle Lifetime Honor Award. We got Jan and Jeff Lenhart. Where are they at? There they go. They're the Gray Eagle membership chairs, and that's a big, big job. They do a lot of work for that. Bob Lines, where's Bob? Okay. He's the deputy area director. In fact, my wife and I are going to be in Italy in February, and he's going to be in charge of that luncheon. Tom Martin was the previous golf coordinator. Karen Nicholson. Where's Karen at? Karen's right there. These cards that we have. These cards right here that are mailed out, we don't have to do anything. We ask Karen, we give her the information, and she does all this. And it's unbelievable help that, you know. So you've got Tony Kennard, Karen. And Karen, I would. Karen, who's with you? Bruce Rushing. He is the facilities manager for APA and works in a print shop, and he helps her. And then Beverly, my wife, her and Dee, check everybody in. Bill Sherrod, where's Billy at? He is the director of line operations. Wayne Snyder is going to be our speaker, him and his wife Heather. We have Chris Torres and his wife Cheyenne. He's the APA vice president. Did Jim Weber make it? Okay. And the other thing we want to mention from Flight Administration of Flight Academy, we want to come over and see Wayne perform. Lisa Solitario, Reagan Hine, and Brooke Taylor. The point of mentioning everybody is to show the support that APA generates from the union and the company, and it's phenomenal. Let me see, Christmas luncheon, we had 90. In Cheryl Guth, we had the Christmas luncheon at her party. That was fantastic. Okay. Little walk down memory lane. The first person here, I think, that I ever met was Paul Stouffer. Where's Paul at? Okay, and that was in 1972 in Quantico, Virginia. We both did not know what we were getting into. And then the next person here, Alan Brock. 1980, he and I were flying a Piper Saratoga down to Galveston and Beaumont and everything else. And then after that, Judy Tarver. I met Judy Tarver when I was putting in my application. And Paul Berry, is he here? Okay, it's amazing. Paul comes and, you know, everybody has good, feelings about him. The next person that I saw was Joe Lanza. Where's Joe at? Anyway, Joe, he's the one that, when I first checked in on Monday, Joe was the guy that welcomed us aboard. And then I started my training on 727. And, I came into Tom Pasquale.
Hey, Tom, we've got a problem with the audio in the back, and Randy needs to get the audio in the back.
Okay.
Just take him a second. We think. Sorry.
One, two, three. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, John. Sorry, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, guys. Thank you, John.
Jacques, could you come up here for a minute? I have Bob, could you take over the camera for him? And no, I can't figure this out. So anyway, I go to Play-Doh training. Which was that?
Clear of traffic, you can return to your previously assigned clearance.
That voice, I'm walking down the hallway one day, and it's like I got slapped up the head with a 2x4. I heard that voice, and I went, "You're the guy, you're the voice." And you got hired in 1968?
Right.
And Tom Pasquale and Jacques love American Airlines. And one of my favorite things I still use is the Tom Pasquale. He says, in the hearing, it's better for Boeing, the FAA, and American Airlines to explain why their procedure didn't work versus you having explained why your procedure didn't work. But Jacques, unbelievable malice towards none and goodwill to all. That describes Jacques. So, Steve, would you come up? Bill, would you come up? Alan, would you come up, please?
What are you guys up to? Holy, what do you got, Steve?
So
Pardon my
Jacques,
language,
Jacques, I have this letter here, and it says, I hereby nominate John M. Jacques Bethune for the Special Recognition Award. Jacques has singularly distinguished himself through exemplary performance as the Grayville scribe and newsletter editor. His nomination as Grayville scribe was unanimously approved by the Executive Board on November 17, 2011. And he has created 10 highly acclaimed newsletters with a combined total of 340 pages since taking over the position. Jacques has also excelled at creating and administering both the National DFW Grayville Facebook page and the DFW Grayville page also. During DFW luncheons, Jacques records videos of the speakers' presentations, then edits and posts them on the social media page for the benefit and enjoyment of all members. John M. Jacques Bethune is clearly worthy and well qualified for the Special Recognition Award, and I encourage the EXP's prompt approval.
Now we have a dilemma. The dilemma is we don't have anybody to take a picture because he takes all the pictures. Honey, would you take a picture?
Cheryl's working at this, right, guys? Come on, guys. There you go. Get together here. Beverly, geez, everybody's doing it.
You get too close on the ball.
I'll say 2 words. I'll say more than 2 words. You don't know how, maybe you do. You folks mean the world to me, very much so. I'm so glad you're part of my life. I'm so glad I didn't go back to New York, but I stayed here. You gave the voice in all your training programs, and I'm still here. Just thank you all. Love you. Just thank you for being part of my life. You're welcome.
They wanted to wait to give it at the convention. I said, no, we're doing it now. And we'll do it again at the convention. Another thing we had at the front, ever since I got this name tag, I've been treated with total respect. So it's changed my life. So anybody wants a name tag, you can fill that out and I'll give them to Bill Rose at the end of this and your name tag will be done. The other thing, surviving spouses checklist. You know, I've got copies over here. You can get it on your way out. You can get it off the website. And last but not least, Randy, who owns Jay Gilligan's, and he just goes out of his way for us and set it up. We really worked good today to feed 127, 130 people. And then Bob is the IT guy, great help. And then our Bree and Mary behind the bar. So really good. And now I'd like to introduce the main speaker, Wayne. And Wayne can introduce himself.
How the hell do I follow that? I have a similar story to Charlie, that Charlie did. I can still remember Jock's voice telling me how the hydraulic transfer pumps on the DC-10 flight engineer panel work. I still hear that. Thank you for making me much smarter than I was. Hi, my name is Wayne Snyder. I'm the 777-787 fleet captain with American Airlines over there at the Flight Academy. Got hired in 1985, been in New York for about 30 years, and then came down here to start the 787 service and have been here ever since. Being asked to do, I'm going to multitask for a little bit. A big thank you to the Gray Eagles for putting this together. It's great to see everybody here, and it is an honor to be asked to speak here and speak in front of everybody. And I know that's what everybody says when they come up here, but to be able to be in front of people that have been role models, have been mentors, people that I continue to look up to, is the definition of an honor to be able to be here. I look around, I see Beverly Bass here. I flew with her as a new hire in Washington, and I was a kid. I didn't know how special and how unique that was, but I remember how cool she was to fly with. And I took that with me in the rest of my career, so thank you, Beverly, that was something. People like Jim Dees, who I'll talk about in a little bit, who kind of brought me into this training, check airman, where I am today. Still look up to him for guidance. People, Eric Lewis, who isn't here, he's a big role model. Charlie Savage, I mean, he's just was the epitome of grace and just a wonderful gentleman to work with. And Ken Kopic also too, who taught me how to be a good check airman. Bob Lines did the same thing for me. Ralph Hunter taught me a work ethic that I'm still working to try to emulate as him. But I'm missing a lot of people, but it really, to me, it is an honor because I get to be in front of all of you. So thank you very much. Charlie Savage gave me a call and said, in that picture there's Charlie, I got the point, but also Ralph Hunter's in there. That's the first picture of the first flight when we got the 787s to get all the initial cadre checked out. So we all had our first few flights, and that's Charlie there. But when Charlie called, he was very, as usual, very gracious and said, Wayne, we'd like you to come speak. And I was blown away. I said, I'd love to do that. And he gave me some ideas to talk about and kind of gave me the whole routine. Very, very gracious. But when I got off the phone, I started realizing the enormity of this and how many people and the decades and decades of experience in the room that I'd be talking to as a younger pilot. So I started to get a little nervous. And as I try to work through the presentation, I try to think, what can I do better? And it was, even as we speak right now, I'm rather nervous. So if I'm not as polished as I'd like to be, my advanced apologies. And then Bob Lines called me. And he was a little different in his sales approach. He says, whatever you do, don't talk forever about yourself. People want to hear about the airline. They want to hear about the airplanes, what's going on with the fleet. Don't go on and on. So I immediately had to scrap about 100 slides on the presentation. So I made it that way. So Bob, I hope you like, I've condensed it quite a bit, so I hope that will be okay. So here I am at 5 years old with my parents at the fireplace, waiting for Santa Claus. I don't know why my dad had a fire going, but he did. So that was at 5. And then quickly, all of a sudden, become an international first officer with the the requisite mustache that you had to have as a pilot back there in the early 80s. And then we fast forward, and all of a sudden I'm flying retirement trips for people that have been working with. So I hope, Bob, that's okay, that I kind of condensed it a little bit. Very interesting picture. Almost everybody is here. There is Bob Lyons on the left there, myself in the back. Keith Clary was his retirement trip that we did, and Ken Copic is there too, and also Bill Elder. Most people, you know what's going on, but Keith Clary has continued service with the FAA, is now the Air Crew Program Manager that I deal with directly with 787 issues with the FAA. So it's really a pleasure to keep working with him, and he's just as wonderful and gracious as he was as a check airman that he is working with the FAA. For those of you who don't quite get maybe what that means, this is probably one of the more scarier pictures that we had. We actually had 5 captain jackets in the thing that they worked out, and all 5 of us to go fly this trip. So it was, I couldn't let that moment go. But again, a quick gratitude to the guys that really got me started in all this. Captain Jim Dees and Captain Bill Elder, they really brought me along. Jim hired me kind of sight unseen to be a wide body check airman up in New York back in 2006. And then I ended up working for Bill in the training department, and it's been a great run. Also, this guy, Captain Ken Copic, who I really became best friends with, and he has been just such a mentor, great guidance, and continues to be to this day, and a very good friend. But mostly, again, I have to blame it was Jim Dees who brought it. So if you have anything really to do about it, you have to go with him. One of the traditions you may have heard about, if you hadn't been involved with the 787, entering the service was probably one of the best things I got to do. And I'm sorry, I'm talking about everybody. Okay, not just us. But one of the cool things, for some reason, as we got working on this, we went to Boeing, we got trained, we started program development, we brought the Snyder airline. But when we finally got the airplane, it was kind of a big deal, so we always wanted to celebrate. And for some reason, Fireball became the drink of the 787. So as all of us got done with our first flights, I tried my best to greet everybody with a little token of appreciation with that. And that is day 2 of the first airplane flying with Elder, John Brothers, Bob, and myself. Of course, when we got a bigger crowd together, we had to make adjustments, so we kind of So anyway, seriously, on to some more important stuff. One of the things Charlie recommended is kind of update on the fleets with American Airlines on all our airplanes, especially the 777 and 787. Just a few facts and figures there. We have 59 787s out there flying right now. That's the breakdown of them, and also we've got 30 787-9s coming for delivery, and that'll bring the fleet up to 89, which will be the biggest wide-body fleet that we have here at American Airlines. Those are some of the delivery schedules. It's been stretched out. The last one's will be coming in 2029. Let's see. Kind of a cool thing here. We've got over 1.2 million hours on the 787 since we introduced it in 2018. 152,000 flight cycles. And our first airplane, 8 Alpha Alpha, has the most. Has 32,000 hours on it and over 5,000? Yeah, over 5,000 cycles on it. Why does that have so much time on it? Why does that have so many cycles on it? Well, this was the airplane you saw previously that we used for the touch and goes to train all the initial cadre of check airmen. And that's a little flight aware picture of theirs. I believe that's Midland, of us drilling holes in the sky, so to speak, touch and goes. We would go out in the morning, they'd flip us the keys to not only a brand new airplane, the first brand new 787, give us 100,000 pounds of fuel and say, go have a nice day. And so we would take 4 check airmen, and we'd do about 10 to 15 each, rotate around seats. And I think, Ralph, correct me, I think you may have the record, was it 66 in one session or something like that? Is that right? 60, you and maybe Jeff Jones or somebody?
Absolutely.
66, so that was it, that was good. So that's what's going on with the 787 fleet. Some things coming up. We're trying to get flight deck Wi-Fi. Some of the earlier airplanes didn't have Wi-Fi, and that's a very high priority for American Airlines to get that in, because there's so many things now that you have capability with the iPad, certain apps, and that, so they're working on that quite a bit. The 17 that we got recently does have a Viasat Wi-Fi system in there, so it's a mixed fleet right now, but that's going to change. The future deliveries will have a Boeing interface device. I'll show a picture of this in a second. And then also, as we get going with the last deliveries, those of you from the 787, the EFB is going to go away, and it's going to be more of an iPad interface. The newest Dash 9s that are coming starting in June, they're going to have a new business class seat, which is pretty impressive. It actually has a sliding privacy door, so it's going to be a really nice interior for that. Let's see. So that's where the EFB was on the 787. This is the prototype for when it's not going to be there. Basically, you're going to be able to hook up your iPad to a system within the aircraft and take things and swipe them and put them right on the multifunctional display screens in front of you. So you'll be able to put your apps in there, your Jepson in there, so it'll be something kind of like you probably have at home with your TV. But that's kind of the future of the 787. The original EFB was designed back in the 80s, and at the time was state of art, and nobody knew what an iPad was. So as the technology has changed, it's kind of gone out of fashion. Very, very heavy, very expensive to maintain, update, run iPad, give everybody a new iPad, and off you go. So that's kind of the future there. New destinations, the rest of Philly, those are 3 of the new ones that we have coming this summer. Nice, Naples, and Copenhagen out of Philadelphia for the 787. 777, give you an update on that. That fleet has stayed steady with 67 aircraft, still 47 200s and 20 300s. Future plan, it's a very stable fleet. I keep asking, we're trying to get enhancements, we're trying to get avionics upgrades, and I keep asking, is there any plans for retirement? And there's not. They have these aircraft scheduled for maintenance past 2030. So very stable fleet, and none of them will be going anywhere. Again, same thing, we're trying to get power ports for the iPads on the 777-200s, and also the Wi-Fi on the aircraft that don't have it. Starting in July, we're going to be sending the 777-300s down to Hong Kong, and we're going to be doing a complete cabin retrofit on them, taking the 8 first-class seats we have and adding about 22 more business class seats. So you can kind of see the breakdown there. 70 business class, 44 premium economy, 216, total of 330 people will be on the 777-300 once these all get modified. I thought another interesting fact, 5 million hours on the combined 777 fleet since our first delivery in 1999 of the 777-200ER. 600,000 flight cycles, and the one aircraft has 97,000 hours, 7 Alpha Kilo, and I think a 7 Alpha Bravo has the most cycles, 13,000 cycles. Pretty impressive. Now the big question probably might be thinking to ask that I ask every day as I can, and now that Bill is here, Bill Sherrod is here, I think I'm going to ask you specifically. 777X, what's the future on that? I really like going up to Boeing because they have the mistaken idea that I have the checkbook to buy these aircraft, so I get a tour of the airplane, I get this, I get models, I get t-shirts, and I just smile and walk away. So are we going to get, no plans right now, but it is the future. It really is an amazing aircraft. I've been lucky enough to get several tours of it. That's a Dash 9 right there at the Boeing field that we went through to show you some pictures. The cockpit itself is much more like a 787. A 787 pilot is going to feel much more familiar sitting in the 777X as opposed to a regular 777 pilot. And you can see there's no EFB, there's no cursor control device, a little mouse pad that you'd have on a 777 or a 78 because it's touch screens. It's going to be all touch screens, and that's how it's going to go. Here's a quick look at it. You can see a few of the features there. On the far left, there, those are little indentations there. That's where you put your thumb to steady your hand as you work the screens around to do all the touch screens part of it. The top middle one there, that's a position of the wingtips that go in and out, so you can see that the wingtips are all straight down there. And then I thought another cool thing was the auto brakes. It's just a rotary dial, and then the auto brake selector is actually on the ICAS screen. So those are a few of the enhancements there that on the 777, and also some pretty nice cameras on it. And you were asking about the wingtips. I thought it was kind of interesting that it's almost like a seatbelt sign, isn't it? That's the actual switch to be able to extend or retract the wingtips. Got a demonstration last year, the year before, in one they call it an ECAB, or it's kind of like their simulator, but it's fixed based, about how dummy-proof these wingtips are, which I guess they had to do it that way. There's so many warnings, so many things as you work your way out that they are extended. In the automatic mode, once you turn onto the runway, they automatically extend. When you land, get below 70 knots, they automatically retract. If for some reason they're not in the automatic mode and you leave them retracted, try to get on the runway after probably half a dozen warnings. If you go to try to put the auto throttles on for the takeoff power, the auto throttles won't even come up. It won't let you take off. So pretty robust safety part on that. That's a kind of view of it retracted there, there in Bonn. But unfortunately, when they asked about how the program is going, it's still on hold right now. They're doing some more testing, but it is several years behind the schedule. They've got about 400 aircraft on order. They haven't delivered one yet. So there's still a few years before it's going to become available. And but that's the Dash 9 version. And as I said, it's not the best looking scene up there at Boeing. This is one of the runways they actually have shut down up there at Everett. And those are all green 777Xs waiting for engines and waiting for production to resume. So still more to go on this story, but it is a great aircraft once it gets the bugs worked out. Those of you interested in 737, there's I asked my fellow fleet captains about this. 360 737s, a mix of 302 next generation, and currently 58 MAXs. And that's the delivery schedule for the MAXs. And eventually, once they're all delivered, you'll have 442 737s, and of that, there'll be 140 MAXs. Airbus 479. I was even a little surprised at this. I didn't realize that we had that much of the French aircraft flying around. But we recently purchased several Alaska 321s. As Alaska is switching over to a Boeing fleet, we were able to secure a few of those. They're going through retrofits right now, and they'll be available for the summer. There's 70 of the NXs out there flying, getting 14 more. And finally, the XLRs. We have 50 of those on order. That is what is hopefully going to be serving a lot of the secondary European cities. Something like the 75 used to do way back when, going to these different European. So that's the plan for it right now. No city pairs announced yet, but they'll be coming shortly. Let's see. Any questions about the fleets? Or maybe we can wait till the end. I'll wait till the end. One of the things Charlie recommended was about talking about some of the things that have been going on at America that maybe since you've left or haven't seen that are pretty impressive. One of the big things is we've gone to a new flight planning system, or we're transitioning to a new flight planning system called Flight Keys. This has been a project going on for, I've been involved with it for 4 or 5 years, and people have been involved with it longer. An extremely complex, you can imagine a flight planning system to fly all airplanes all around the world. Very complex, but a very good system. We have completely transitioned for the wide bodies, all the Asia, North Atlantic, South Pacific is all switched over. The only time a wide body would get a regular FOSS flight plan is if they're flying a domestic trip. Some of our charters, NFL charters and all that, or just regular domestic flying on the wide bodies. We're gradually switching over to Latin and South America. Most of the deep South ones are flying Flight Keys right now. And they're kind of working on getting everything over to the whole Latin America. Most of this is constrained by dispatch as far as their ability to train dispatchers. Just like pilots, they're having a hiring frenzy right now to try to get as many people on as they can. So that's the only thing limiting them right now. But the flight planning system is really great. And hopefully by the end of this year, they'll have enough people trained that they can go over to all the dispatch. One of the cool things with this that we worked on, the flight department worked on, was trying to use the technology to graphically show how the aircraft is flying, especially in the ocean and ETOPS airspace. And this is a Dallas Heathrow flight. And you can see the different you can see the flight path, see the tracks, you can see these circles. And these little circles there are 60-minute circles to determine whether you're ETOPS or you're not ETOPS. Pretty, instead of trying to read a chart, trying to read kind of a textual description of it, you can see it graphically there. And you can see, okay, these are the airports. Okay, we can't be 60 minutes. Now we're 180 minutes, or I think in this case it's 120 minutes. There we are. So you can see exactly where your ETP, your airports, and it really, I think, is powerful because it really shows you how your ETOPS flight or how your international flight is operating. So a big enhancement to it. And all you need is take a picture. Now you've got a good situational awareness for your whole flight. But we also have the textual description of it, and this is very concise. It shows the information of when you get into ETOPS airspace, what ETP airports you're going to use, all sorts of information there. Very good. And finally, one of the things we added is breaking it down just in case you have to do circle and tick, for those that remember there. Still trying to get rid of that. I'm trying. but we'll see how it goes. But that just simplifies taking the information you need out of the flight plan in one simple page. So a lot of enhancements, a lot of technology. I love it. I think it's a great system. Something else going on here too is our authorization for 240-minute ETOPS with the 787, South Pacific. This has been quite a project. It's actually been several years in the making, and we were almost there last year, but because we only operate the service seasonally, the FAA didn't want to give us an approval, and then 2 weeks later we stopped service. So we didn't get as far as we wanted to last year, but this year we did. We got all the way to the, we did a tabletop exercise, and we flew the validation flight, and it was, let me kind of see, here and explain why we're doing it. You can see currently with 180-minute ETOPS, we're missing a big part of the ocean there that we can't fly through because we're not within 3 hours of an airport. So with the 240, that space goes down quite a bit, and now you can pretty much fly anywhere you want. One of the things that we did with this is we added Easter Island, which is that airport down at the bottom right, as an acceptable ETOPS airport. Pretty cool. And this is kind of how it looks in flight keys. The validation flight was real interesting. Is next to having recurrent check airman training with Bob Lyons, probably one of the hardest things I ever did. We had the FAA in the cockpit for the entire 16-hour flight, both there and back. And we worked through scenarios from just a simple logbook entry all the way up to at the end of the two flights, a scenario where we had an uncontrollable fuel leak and we were going to ditch about 300 miles away from Hawaii. And I was exhausted. It was really strenuous. And but we were almost there. We're going to do one more flight just to kind of iron out a few of the things with flight keys. But flight department, everything went good on our side, and the FAA just want to see some things from dispatch. So very, very, very good, and it's going to help a lot. And it's an authorization not just between Dallas and Auckland. Any South Pacific flights that we have, if we start adding some other destinations down in that area, we can use this authorization on the aircraft.
How much does this save?
It depends on the day. He asked how much does this save? We would probably, it depends on some days 240 is not going to work, but most of the times it will. If we have the authorization, we'd probably run it close to 80% of our flights. May not be at 240 minutes, but it'll be beyond 180, so something that will help us out. It's close to 20% of savings on a flight like that. You're talking 25 to 30 minutes, 11, 12,000 pounds of fuel to do that. So it's significant. It really is, especially day after day after day as we use it. So, and the time of year that we're flying, it usually is predominantly a little bit further north to use Hawaii, or especially south that we use Easter Island. So it's pretty significant. It really is. So, and especially if we fly other flights, you kind of multiply that too. So it's good savings. One of the other, so that's one of the projects we're working on. The other one, how am I doing, Charlie? Am I all right?
Great.
Okay.
You're doing great.
All right. This is one of the biggest things that has come on the radar lately. Is not so much in the United States, but over in Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Europe itself, is this GPS jamming and spoofing. Last week was at a very big conference in Cologne, Germany, where EASA, the European, and all the carriers there, it's getting a lot of attention because some of the carriers, we have two flights that really deal with it. The Delhi to Kennedy flight and the Doha to Philly flight. These folks deal with it 4 or 5 times a day. And you can imagine getting spurious GPWS signals to pull up when you're at 39,000 feet, the aircraft making it somewhere where it's not. So it's really, the FAA considers it a security threat because people are messing with radio waves. And so it really is, it's not as big in the United States, but it's huge over there. It's getting a lot of play. Here's an example of a 787 at 39,000 feet getting a pull-up warning for GPWS. You can imagine how disconcerting that is, especially for our flights that are just getting ready to thread the needle through the Himalayas and go up past Pakistan and Afghanistan. Not a great way to be in the middle of the night. So it's getting a lot of attention. Where's this happening? Yeah, that's a worldwide picture, and you can see, predominantly it's in that Middle East area. But it's not, there's other places that are happening too. That's a little better picture. This really affects our two flights. Towards the top through Turkey there, Delhi Kennedy goes through there both ways. Philly Doha through Egypt, it goes through there both ways. So every day we have issues with it and trying to deal with it that way. That's kind of the jamming part of it, where you lose the entire signal. And then there's another thing too, which is getting even more nefarious, is spoofing, where it's telling you you're somewhere that, it's not just removing the signal, it's telling you, hey, you're here, you're not really here. And this is an example from one of our 787s that was, the bottom is where the aircraft was, but the FD Pro had the ownership on the 787, and it said it was on the ground at the Beirut airport. And this is one of our flights 2 weeks ago. So people that fly 787 said, well, hold it, how did you get ownership in your aircraft because we can't get GPS signals through the window? That's correct. So the spoofing signal was so strong, it overrode everything else and was still able to get to the iPad of the pilots that are showing they were somewhere else. So that's kind of what we're dealing with and trying to address it that way. But being on the cutting edge of technology, I've come up with a few ideas on how to handle this, and I think we're going to be okay. But seriously, what we are going to do is enable, if folks remember at all, the GPS is, the FMC is inhibited from using ground-based nav. We just use the GPS signal all the time. So when we lose that, we're going to let the airplane go ahead and use more ground-based navigation. So we're setting up procedures to have the crews deal with it that way. So definitely working on it, but it's really becoming to the forefront of one of the biggest safety issues that we have. Another cool thing coming out of American Airlines about the crew is the electronic logbook. No more signing the logbook, all going through all those pages. It's strictly digital on your iPad. Now again, it requires Wi-Fi, so we don't see it on the wide bodies right now, but the 737 fleet is completely switched over, and the Airbus is about 75% switched over. So your entire review of the aircraft is right there. They're in Safe, an app that's on your iPad. And once you review everything you want to see, you see the aircraft routing, you see the maintenance, you can expand those write-ups to see what the full write-up was, what the balancing entry was. And at the very bottom, you see that little slide? That's accepting the aircraft. No more signing of that. You just slide that across, you accepted the aircraft, and off you go. So that's what's going on right now with the checklist. Another thing too, changes in the North Atlantic. We're getting rid of the oceanic clearance part of going across the ocean, which we know was kind of one of the biggest procedurally driven things that we had at going across the airspace. The crews are still going to request the clearance like they normally do, giving the controllers their estimate all those times, but their response will be cleared as filed. There won't be a big long clearance you have to check, it's just cleared as filed. So that's been in the work for several years. Unfortunately, we couldn't get all the different controlling facilities to do it at the same time. So my dilemma is going to be from 21 March to 3 of May as we have aircraft that may be going one way with one set of procedures, the other way with another set of procedures, or depending how far north or south we go, they could have some different procedures. So a little bit challenging, but I know our crews will be good with that, but that's what's coming up there. So finally, I got 2 more things to go. Just wanted to say a quick shout out. Somebody just rolled their eyes. Charlie mentioned the spouses and friends and acquaintances, partners that are here. I think every pilot in here can say that if it wasn't for somebody at home or somebody beside them, they would not be the person, the pilot, or anything that they are. And I'm definitely in that, so I just want to say a quick shout out to my dear wife Heather for all that. If you notice, you can tell that picture was before I became fleet captain because there's not any gray hair in it. Last story, and again, thank you for all the spouses, not maybe that suffering through some of my technical talk. My wife always says not everybody's interested in what you're talking about. So I want to tell one last story that I hope everyone will find entertaining, but you got to go back 5 years. You got to go back before COVID, back before conflicts, political things, all that stuff. Go back with me about 2018. I had the opportunity to go to Russia, to airport Magadan, which is on the eastern side of Siberia. It's one of our alternate airports we go through when we used to try to fly through Russia. There was a conference there that I was involved with, and it was also an opportunity to go tour the airport. You know, it's one of these airports that we have alternates that we tell the crews, hey, if you have an emergency, go in there. Well, what's the airport like? We don't know, but I was going to go find out. So, anything that took a lot. Bill Elder was very supportive of it. Jim Thomas, who was the managing director of flight at the time, was very supportive of it. And Heather was like, just make sure the insurance is paid. And she said, so off I went to, but before I went, it was interesting that the managing director of training and my wife said exactly the same thing. They said, behave, remember they are professional drinkers there, and just you are representing American Airlines, you're representing the United States of America, behave, but also represent. Don't let anyone push you around. We want to make a good impression, all that. So I thought it was interesting those two people say the exact same thing. So there I am, that's the runway in Magadan when I got there. And it really was a fascinating visit, very, very good airport to go to. I'll tell you what, if I was in that area on fire, I'd go in there in a heartbeat. And got the full tour, the full 9 yards. It was there was a lot of coordination involved with that going on. So that was part of it. And it was a very interesting way, and everything was ceremony, right? You had a table, you had all these things, the toast, right? You sit down, there'd be like a nice bottle of water and a bigger bottle of vodka, all right? And of course, the tradition, right, we had to give all these toasts. And so the head guy would give his toast, and then the person from Magadan that was hosting it, and then I was the third one to get to give a toast, and it goes around the table, and so there's a lot. So trying to heed my words from Jim and my wife Heather is like, okay, I gotta represent, I gotta be good. So after the third day, I think I did good because I win. That guy is the head of Russian ATC, FA, he's the other, and I believe I won on that one. So the last thing on this was the girl that had a translator, took the picture of it. And she took the picture, and then like about a month later, I got a message, said, you didn't show that picture to anybody, did you? And I kind of said, well, why? She goes, well, I could probably get in a lot of trouble with that. I said, what are they going to do, send you to site? Never mind, you're already here. So that's it. Any questions? Anything, anybody? Any questions? Yes?
Rumor control.
Rumor control, okay.
I heard about a year ago that there was a bunch of 777-300s sitting on the ground in Seattle someplace that we made a deal with Boeing to swap out 200s for 300s.
I have not heard that one, to be very honest. The one I have heard that I think there's some validity to is that we were looking at some of Emirates 300 ERs to purchase, but that was based on the 777X coming in to replace them. And because their deliveries have been delayed by I think almost 4 years, that kind of fell through. And I'm sorry, what he asked was that there's a rumor there's a bunch of 300s that we could switch for our 200s out there in Seattle. And again, a lot of stuff goes on I don't know about, but I had not heard that one. But the Emirates one was pretty confirmed. Yes, sir?
Any new destinations for the 777 besides London?
Why? You tired of London?
Tired of London?
The question was, are there any more destinations planned for the 777 besides London? There's going to be seasonal switches back and forth, switches with the 787 on some of the Far East flying, some of the South America flying, but nothing new that I know of. You'll see, it might take over the 787 from Shanghai in the next few months, but nothing planned. So, sorry to say. So. Yes, sir.
Jim wants to know, what's your, you go to Boeing a lot, what's your feeling, what's going on with Boeing in the last minute?
Okay, Jim through an intermediary asked about kind of the tone up there in Boeing, and it's tough because you read stuff in the newspaper like everybody else does. You see what's going on with the airplane, but then you go up and meet with the people in person, and it's a good group that's trying to do the best. But I think that the 737 I don't know a lot about, that you probably already don't know from reading the newspaper. But the 787 is doing okay with it. But I think that they're, maybe if they didn't in the past, they know that there's a problem. And I see more and more measures being taken place to try to rectify that. And of course, driven by the FAA, as you've probably read, the FAA has now decided to get on the floor up there in Renton with the 737 production to actually watch what's going on instead of just observing from a distance. So you know, it's tough. You don't want, you go up there and it's, I feel like they're being kicked while they're down a little bit, and so you try to be optimistic, and they do give us great support. I mean, at least from the 787, they're very responsive. We have technical issues with it. So as I said, person to person, it's a great group up there, but I think maybe as a corporation, as with others, you know, it went astray a little bit, and I think they're trying to fix that. That kind of answers the question in a politically correct way. So, yeah. Anything else?
Okay.
All right, thank you folks very much for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Normally, we do not give gifts to speakers, but this is like a softball pitched our way. So, in relation to the Magadan experience, he's really welcome. In relation to the 787 Nishikata and low follow. And this was 89 cents. I just wanted him to try it and let him know. Thank you very much. We've got one other thing I was going to do, I was going to point out, you know, Alan and I, well, Paul Stouffer and I saw each other first in 1972. Anybody here, Rick Sack and Bob Pawnee, when's the first time you guys came across each other?
1963.
1963. In pilot training? Wow. Can anybody beat that? 1963. Wow. We'll let Steve Catalano's going to get up and talk about the convention that's coming up. Once again, we've got the name tags you can get if you want to fill them out and give me the money. I can give them to Bill Rose before he leaves. And then this is the surviving spouse checklist. It's got a lot of good information on here. And there's actually MetLife Insurance has a specified probably $20,000 if you retired before 10/31/2012. Chris Torres, would you like to get up and share any information with the union? And like I said, it's fantastic having a company in the union.
I don't have anything prepared. I can take whatever questions you guys have. The only thing that really kind of off the top of my head I can think of is for those who are still flying with American. The contract ratified 21st of August last year. Probably the biggest, heaviest lift that we're doing right now is with what we're calling the JIAC. It's the Joint Implementation Action Committee. We are the only airline that has an implementation schedule. So it's one of the woes of the pilot group from the 2015 JCBA is that we let the company get away with not implementing many items. As of the ratification of this CBA, I believe there was 67, something like that, items that were not implemented. And some of them were significant. A lot of them had to do with scheduling type of issues. So at the data signing, it was something like 85% of the contractual items were implemented. A lot of the stuff was up front, so there was a 3, a 6, a 9-month gate. One of the biggest points is going to be at the year point. That's when we're going to bring on what's called a reserve assignment system, as well as ECS, the electronic communications system. So the JIAC is composed of 5 folks from APA, and I think probably a similar number of folks from the company side that for really probably the first time that I've seen, they're working very well together, the two teams. Each side is very accommodating to the other in terms of getting the work done and, where needed, compromising. I don't think compromising really is the right word, but seeking out objectives that are mutually beneficial. So they are on track with everything, with one exception, which is a credit to sick time in excess of 14 days, and it's actually removing that credit. That's actually something that benefits the pilot group more. It's a company ask, so we're not too upset that they haven't implemented that. So overall, it's a very positive tone for us, and that's, again, kind of off the top of my head what I've got. You guys got any questions for me?
In regards to what you just talked about, the implementation, I know that there have been contracts in the past where there were implementation schedules, but there were no penalties
Yeah, so it's not a financial penalty, and this is something that, right off the bat, the pilot group was kind of upset about until you explain what the actual penalties are. So they're within that implementation schedule. It's an LOA at the end of the CBA. Basically, what it says is that both sides will choose, I think it's 5 arbitrators. So we'll have these arbitrators queued up, and at any point, if they hit a trigger on this implementation schedule and it's not done, then we immediately go to the arbitrator. And the arbitrator is going to determine the penalties. If they get to, so our early openers are 9 months prior to the amendable date of the contract, which is 4 years, so it's August 2025. So if we get to early openers, so 9 months prior to that, math in public, that November of 2020, I'm sorry, I said 2025, I meant 2023-7. So if we get to, in the time frame of November 2026, and everything up to that point is not implemented, we go into, and I should back that up. We go into early openers at the year prior, I'm sorry. So 9 months is the early openers. At a year prior, if everything hasn't been implemented, we go into early openers at that time. And at the amendable date of the contract, if everything is not implemented, then we go into immediate mediation. And all of that is spelled out in the LOA. So it's not a specific financial penalty where you say, American Airlines, if you don't do this, you're going to pay this. And the rationale behind that was, you can tell American Airlines you're going to have to pay this amount. And if American Airlines looks at what it is that they have to do, and then they look at this penalty and go, that's actually probably cheaper for us just to not implement it, then they're not going to implement it. And we're stuck with a financial penalty, but now we just have this unimplemented item that will continue until who knows when.
Who's deciding the arbitration?
They're mutually decided by both parties. So we've got them lined up already. Easy crowd. I like it. All right. Thanks.
That's great. Chris and Cheyenne, they came to, spend time with us and everything else. Steve Calano, would you like to come up and talk about the convention that's going to be here in Irvine?
Your 2024 Gregor's leadership team is honored to serve you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you so much for American Airlines for all you do for us, as well as the Allied Pilot Association, all you do for Gray Eagles as well. It's almost like a one-day convention right here. I couldn't believe the numbers. So we're planning 31st of October, our first day staging out of the Embassy Suites. You'll get mailings every month. You've already got some of the information. We're going to have a teaser every month. We're going to send out basically a quick view from 30,000 feet, and it will be brief. It's been a long day for everybody in there. We're going to have registration and cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, Thursday the 31st. We open up. Hospitality Suite will also be open. Friday, we're planning several events. Basically, 9/11 Memorial, Grapevine, pay our respects, and on to the American campus, the schoolhouse, possibly the museum. That's kind of up in the air due to an American Airlines event. And also in the running is the new IOC building, and potentially also the Fort Worth Air Traffic Control Center. Onto a Gray Eagles dinner, a barbecue up at Meet You Anywhere. Saturday we're planning walk around Grapevine, check things out, and then take the train to the stockyards. Group lunch, Gray Eagles, followed by watching the Longhorns. Those suckers are big. I see why they call them Longhorns. And then we're probably going to bus it back, so I think we can do the train both ways unless somebody really wants to do that. And then potentially people can have their own dinner plans in Grapevine or back to the hotel, Hospitality Suite. And then Sunday we're planning a kind of relaxing day, go to SMU, visit the Bush Presidential Center, followed by an evening banquet, our final banquet. That's a view from 30,000 feet. There's a couple surprises we're probably going to throw in there that will put smiles on a few faces. Anyway, that's it. Look forward to seeing you there. And just a show of hands, how many folks are thinking of attending? Okay, a lot of hands, good. Maybe another show of hands. Many people might be staying at the hotel, the Embassy Suites. Okay, a few more hands. Okay, good deal. Thanks so much, Charlie. This is outstanding. I'm dazzled by the attendance.
Once again, it's great seeing DeEtte. Bob was such a big part of this. The jar is there for donations, and you can put any money in there because that is going to go to Steve Fryer and his organization. Thanks again. And Alan, you'd like to come up and say one last thing?
I went to the first Texas Ranger baseball game here in Arlington. Anybody else make that game? We're here in Arlington, Texas today. Anybody enjoy watching the Rangers win the World Series? We've got a special guest who was a part of the Texas Rangers beginning. I'd like to recognize my good friend Jackie Moore, who 57 years Major League Baseball. And his wife Joanne, who she and I started our careers with American Airlines about the same time. She was senior to me and younger as flight attendants.
And that's it. Glad everybody came, had a good time. Stay as long as you want. Enjoy each other's company. And February 28th, we're thinking about the next luncheon. And Bob Lyons will be sending information out. Once again, thanks for coming.
I do that?
No, you're good.
Hey, this is a book from my favorite author. What's the year?
Your favorite author? Steve Catalano.
The African Mission. Jock, thanks for what you do. Islands, and of course, the Braves. Blue skies and Steve. Enjoy it. It's a good read. I write down an offer for something to do about I did stand-up comedy. I've been working for a while until I got crazy. You're the man, Chuck. You're the man. Well done, sir.
I haven't really seen it either. Well, I haven't really seen it myself. Oh, look, it's got the eagle in there. Oh, a good guy. That's you. Glad you were here. Yeah. What's up? I did. I What's going on in your life?
Nothing much, just enjoying retirement.
Okay. Real good to see you, John. You take care of him. I will, yeah. Take care, John. Good to see you. And he told you too, didn't he? Maybe you can send me the visuals. That's the first step.
Yeah, I'll look on my computer and see what I've got on there. It's got to still be there because I use that same computer. Yeah, I'll look on it.
Congrats, Jock. Yeah. You have a good one, man. Thanks for everything you do.
What you looking for, D? Just went by and one of the guys. Yes, he was just grab another tail. Go on, Bruce. Let's do it. Congratulations. Nobody deserves that. It's always That's where they come from.
Aggie overload. Hey, I was paying. My boy was back. He said a lot of money. He said a lot of money. Yeah, I should be Are you retired completely or are you still FAA? I didn't retire last year. Mr. Wally's still working out there in Honolulu. I saw him here, but I didn't get just to say hi. Is he still here? Okay. Similar instructions all the time. He did that 3-year contract?
I had to straighten up my ball last week.
No, what the?
No, actually, we both said the same thing, but it's different. Another one. Always just it's a bit arbitrary. Yeah, there used to be some words in there that never existed.
It's changed, always.
Yeah, unless it's specified. Just think, I would have my work production about 2 minutes. You don't have to fight. It's either at 1,000 or just specified in office. Now
This is going to Jen, and she said hello, and sorry she couldn't be here. She just did
Wow, congratulations, Jen. Hey, Jen, congratulations. Finished your ATP. Wonderful. Come fly with American Airlines. He played it, right?
No, but see, I've never heard it. I've always heard people talk about it, but I've never heard it.
Well, the really great one is like the hydraulic, like push the button. Hey, okay, good. I got this one. Put it in there, protect it. You want me to?
Yeah, I don't want to get messed up. That's what. Put it in there, and then I'll leave this as it is.
That's nice.
How's that?
Nice.
Good?
Oh, just post it. Whatever you want to do.
See, I don't know how to post this big file. I don't know what to do.
Get the big file.
Okay. That's how I do it. I don't want to do anything over a minute. People on YouTube and you post it, link to it.
That's how you do it. And you got to describe what you've got to put a title for it. I don't get too involved. I keep it pretty simple.
Navy Dallas, yeah. Charlie flew out of there. I thought I knew everybody on your schedule.